Hello, Seiiti. How can you use your brain better? Well, let me tell you, you don't have a bad memory. Most of the time, what you call a memory problem is actually an attention problem. And that is excellent news. Why? Well, because if your problem would be with your brain, if you had a defective memory, you would feel trapped. You would think, that's just the way I was born. But the problem is attention, encoding, and practice. And you can start fixing it all today. Think about what happens in your normal life. You wake up, you walk to the kitchen. When you arrive there, you kind of forgot, like, well, why am I here? You put your key somewhere, and 5 minutes later, you just can't find it. You meet someone, you shake hands, you hear their name. Just a few moments later, the name is gone. This happens to everybody. But instead of understanding what really happened, so many people tell themselves a comfortable and pretty sad lie. They say, it's just that I have a terrible memory. I don't know how to use my brain. And that is not precise enough. In many cases, the problem is not that your brain is weak. The problem is that the information never entered correctly, or it entered in a fragile way. You never trained the retrieval after learning it. So today I'm going to be giving you 5 rules that will completely change the way you remember names and facts and daily information. These are not magic tricks. These are practical rules based on how your brain actually works. So let's begin with the number 1. Stop calling it bad memory when the problem is bad attention. So when someone comes to you and say, hi, I'm Christina, what are you doing in that particular moment? Are you fully listening? Or are you thinking about your own posture, about the next sentence? Whether your handshake is feeling awkward, whether you are looking good, whether you're looking confident. This is the first mistake. If your attention is divided, that name never enters your mind with not enough strength, at least. Later, when you fail to remember, you will think that your memory failed, but memory cannot retrieve the information that was never captured properly. Memory will begin with encoding. If encoding is weak, everything after that will become weak as well. So that's why I want to have you stop insulting your own brain, your memory, and start training your attention. The next time somebody introduces themselves, pause. Look at the person. Hear the name clearly and repeat it out loud. You say, nice to meet you, Christina. That small action changes everything. It forces your brain to register the information instead of just letting it slide by like some background noise. So, the first rule is simple. Before trying to remember better, you have to notice better. But even strong attention is not enough by itself, because some information is still too dry, too abstract to stick. So let's move on to the second rule. You have to turn words into images, so if you want your brain to remember them. Your brain handles concrete images much better than dry sounds. And that is why you can remember the face of someone you met a few years ago, but forget the name, the word, in a few seconds. Your face will remember, your brain will remember the faces very clearly, but the sound is not so easy. So you see this in daily life all the time. Imagine you are in a co-working space, and then there is the Wi-Fi password written on the wall. You go there, take a look it once, walk back to your seat, and by the time you want to type the password, it's already gone from your memory. Why? Because you try to carry pure symbols without any meaning, without any strong mental anchor. So here's the rule. Whenever something feels abstract, you must turn it into a visual image. Suppose you want to remember the word photosynthesis. For some people it is easy, but if you're having trouble, don't just repeat the word mechanically. Break it apart to build a scene. Photo reminds you of photograph, of light. Synthesis is combining things. So you can imagine a tiny photographer inside of a leaf taking a photo of sunlight and turning that into food for the plant. Is that childish? Yeah, maybe. Is it effective? Absolutely yes. The point is not artistic beauty. The point is memory strength. Because when you combine sound with image, you give your brain much more strength to that particular information. If one path is weak, you have another path to bring you the memory. This is much better than staring at a word and repeating and repeating and repeating and hoping that repetition alone will save you. Now, here's the important detail. Not every image is powerful enough. Some images are just too basic, too normal, too forgettable. And that brings us to the rule number 3. Make the image absurd, ridiculous if you want it to survive. Because the normal things disappear. Strange things will stay. Your brain is constantly filtering reality. There is a span filter. It ignores what looks ordinary so it can save energy. That is very useful for survival, but it is terrible for memory. If I ask you to imagine your coworker Rose sitting quietly at her desk, just working, that image has no force. It blends into everything else. But if you imagine Rose walking through the office with a giant rose bush growing out of her head and dropping petals of roses across every person's desks and keyboards, well, now your mind pays attention. Why? Because your brain highlights everything that is unusual. So when you build the memory images, don't just make them like normal. Make them exaggerated, make them ridiculous, make them loud, unnatural. If you need to remember that mitochondria produce energy, you can imagine tiny power plants inside of your cells, and these mitochondria wearing working hats and producing lightning. The more absurd the image, the harder it is for your mental span filter to throw it away. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. They hear the advice to use visualization, but then they create very weak images, normal images, polite images, boring images, and these will vanish. Don't be polite inside of your head. Be memorable. Okay, now you have attention. Now you have visual conversion. Now you have absurdity. But even then, it is not enough whether you want to test if your brain is able to help you when you need. That's where rule number 4 will enter. Rule number 4 is to stop rereading and start retrieving. Many people think that they are studying when they're just looking things over and over. They reread the same notes. They revisit the same page. They recognize the material, and then they feel a false sense of progress. But recognition alone is not the same thing as memory. Real memory gets stronger when you force your brain to bring the information back without help. This is what we do together with exercises inside of the arata.sc/intelligence. That is a training. That's why I want to help you with the 60-second recall rule. At the end of the day, while you're doing something simple like washing dishes or walking to the bedroom, or putting things away, just take 1 minute and test yourself without any notes, without screens, no cheating, just using your brain. Can you remember the name of a person you recently met? Can you recall that bizarre image that you built for yourself to make that concept? Can you bring back the practical fact that you studied, that you want to retain? This is a very small moment of active retrieval. It's so much more powerful than passive rereading, because when you're struggling, you are not advancing. When you are actually using your brain to retrieve the memory, this is strengthening the path of your memory. In other words, that effort, that is the way you will become good at remembering things. The effort is part of remembering and making it stronger the next time in your memory. So that's why so many people sabotage themselves, because they think, that's so much trouble. They avoid retrieval because it feels uncomfortable. They're like, yeah, I'm not making it. They prefer to reread because it feels smooth and easy. But the smooth path is very not useful. That's not make it durable in your mind. You have to put the information in your brain and then take it back. That's the secret. So one final trap is that people hear everything that I just said here, they get very excited, and then tomorrow morning they want to try to apply all of it to 50 different pieces of information, and that will not work. So let's finish with rule number 5. Start only with 3 items a day, so your system does not collapse. If you try to improve everything at once, you will improve nothing. This is not because you're lazy or incapable. It is because your working memory, it has limits. Your mind can only process so much new information at the same time before the quality gets compromised. So here's the method that I want you to be using for the next 7 days. You choose only 3 items per day. It can be one name, one concept, one practical fact, and that is enough. When someone introduces themselves, capture the name with attention and repeat it. When you learn an abstract idea for your work, for your study, turn it into a visual image. Make the image absurd. At night, try to retrieve those 3 items just using 1 minute without looking at any notes. That's the whole thing. That's the whole training. Small enough for you to be able to do it. Concrete enough to measure. Simple enough for you to repeat. And that repetition matters, because the true goal here is not to perform a clever trick. No, the true goal here is to become the kind of a person who naturally is able to encode better, visualize faster, and retrieve more often. That's it. Memory improves when the process becomes habitual. Don't chase perfection. Just install the system. Your brain is not broken. In many cases, it's simply undertrained. What people call having a bad memory is often one of 5 problems. They didn't pay attention, they encoded the information in a very weak way, they failed to turn abstract material into images, they made their images too ordinary to stand out, or they never, that's a big one, they never practiced retrieval after learning. That means that your brain can improve. I just gave you 5 rules here. Let me revise with you. First, what is it? Stop blaming memory when attention was the real failure. Second, turn words into images. Third, what was it? Make the image absurd. Fourth, stop rereading. Start retrieving. And what was number 5? Practice only with 3 items a day so you can stay consistent. Now, I want you to notice something very important. You see, a person with a better brain, a better memory, is not a person with a special gift. It is a person who just learned how to observe, encode, revisit the information on purpose. And I'm not saying only about remembering names. This is exactly how you learn anything you want to learn, or how you can study anything, how you can do your work, how you build your intelligence over time. So start right now, start today. The next time somebody's telling you their name, stop, repeat it. The next time you're learning an abstract concept for your study, for your work, turn it into a bizarre image. And tonight, before the day ends, test yourself, only 60 seconds without looking at anything. If you want to build a more organized, a more powerful brain step by step, in the Intelligence Arata Academy, I'll be teaching you all the principles behind learning and memory and focus, mental organization, reading better in a much deeper way. And you can go to the link arata.se/intelligence. Well, that's it. Train your attention, train your encoding, train your retrieval, and your brain will stop feeling like an enemy. Your ally is going to be with you.